Hello, everyone. Hey. Oh, I love the response. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the call and response. My name's Cara Johnston. I do everything branding and digital at the CBC PAC and Rolling Sea Action Fund. Yes, exactly. Cheer, please. And thank you all so much for coming to Cultivating Power. We will be here all week long. We are activating outside of the Essence Festival. We are so excited to be here because Essence Fest, to me, overall is a love letter to Black women. And we love to celebrate us, and we love to be in community with one another because it's so important, especially at a time like this, that we continue to build and grow our community. I am so excited to have us hosting 92% Club Live here at Cultivating Power. We have an amazing panel put together for you, and afterwards, as a special bonus, we are also going to be taping an episode live of our No Distractions program. If you follow the CBC PAC on social media, you know that we have a No Distractions program with Elizabeth Booker Houston and Jasmine Burton, and we will be doing that a little bit after this panel. So if you stick around, you get to see some lovely things we're so excited about. I want to introduce a few people before our program gets started. And the first two people I'd like to introduce are Nicole Varner, the Executive Director of the CBC PAC. Nicole, wave. Perfect. And the next person I want to introduce to you is Nakara Campbell-Wallace, and she is the Executive Director of Rolling Sea Action Fund. Yes, when you see these productions and you see all of the, beauty that is around you, it is their purses that are going towards all of this stuff. I'm spending the money, but they are making it, and they're doing an excellent job. So make sure you give them their flowers. I would also like to introduce our members who are in the building today. I would like to introduce Congresswoman LaMonica McIver from New Jersey's 10th Congressional District. I want to also give a special shout out to a fellow pirate because everybody who went to Seton Hall University is amazing, and it might be the only two of us in this room, but that's okay. Also, I'd like to introduce a man that needs no introduction. He is a member of our Congressional Black Caucus PAC board. He is an officer. He is wonderful. He is always supporting us at the CBC PAC and in general in DC, and that is the Honorable Troy Carter. Mr. Carter serves here in Louisiana's 2nd District. He represents New Orleans and all the surrounding areas, and we are so happy to have him welcome you to the city. And if I could have you come on up, Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, he's going to introduce our lovely panelists to you.
Give it up for Cara. Give it up for Nicole and Nakara. Give it up for their whole team. Give it up for all of you for being here. Welcome to New Orleans. Welcome to Essence Festival. This is an exciting time to be here as we enjoy Cultivating Power's 92 Club Live right here in the city of New Orleans. I'm gonna deviate just a half a second, Cara, if you don't get mad at me. We have our dear sister, my outstanding colleague, friend, sister, a powerful member of the United States Congress. I'm gonna ask you to just stand up here with me if you don't mind. Come on. LaMonica McIver. She from Jersey. Jersey. She's a powerful sister. Y'all gonna see a little bit of her a little later, but when people in my hometown, I like to share all the love. So thank you for being here with us. I'm so excited to introduce this amazing panel of beautiful and talented women. Camille Viviana. Camille is, give her a little love, that's all right. Camille is the founder of Black Woman on a Mission. Viral content creator and entrepreneur who has amassed over 100,000 followers on TikTok, which she has leveraged to scale her e-commerce brand, Black Woman on a Mission. She is the founder of Black Woman on a Mission, an author of The Power of Infinite Potential, with a mission to help women live more positive, productive, and purpose-driven lives. With approximately 275,000 people listening across TikTok and Instagram, she uses her platform to amplify and encourage Black women, creating positive spaces for a community that has historically been overlooked. Her brand centers around the concept of resilience, recognizing that Black women often carried the strong Black woman cape on their shoulders while navigating systemic challenges. Give Camille a big round of applause. Elizabeth Booker Houston. Elizabeth Booker Houston, JD, MPH, is a lawyer, a scientist, a comedian, a content creator, a mom. That's a whole lot. Oh, and her daddy's name is Troy, but a wife living in DC metro area who works as a federal compliance professional dedicated to improving public health by coordinating law, science, and technology. With a master's in public health from the University of Memphis and a JD from Cecil C. Humphreys Law School of Law, Houston works in Washington with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration as a compliance specialist dealing with regulatory issues. She has been dubbed a favorite political snarkologist for delivering legal insight with laughter-inducing style through her podcast, The Devil's Opposing Counsel, and social media content that addresses topics from DEI initiatives to political commentary. Her comedy and commentary career took off during the coronavirus pandemic, quickly developing a fan base, especially among Black women who told her that giving them a voice was important work. Give her another round of applause. RaeShanda Lias. RaeShanda is best known for her catchphrase, "Let's check the board." Let's check the board. Check it. And viral videos from TikTok and Instagram is leveraging her more than 3 million, did I say 3 million? More than 3 million viewers, audiences, to elevate the mission of leading brands, cause-driven organizations, and some of the world's leading change makers, an experienced entrepreneur, activist, and social media strategist. RaeShanda's colorful commentary on topics ranging from pet ownership and fashion to women's rights and politics started taking social media by storm in 2021. She has partnered with global brands including Lexus and Spotify and worked with elected leaders including Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz, while also serving as President and CEO of All Is Fair in Love and Fashion, a Louisville, Kentucky-based boutique since 2012. A 2025 NAACP Image Award nominee, veteran of the United States Army, give another clap, and Kentucky State University alumna. RaeShanda overcame facing homelessness and financial hardships as a single mom of 4 to build a life and business she and her children could be proud of, and we are proud of her. Give her a big round of applause. Angela Ferrell-Zabala. That's right, give it up for Angela. Angela is a lifelong community organizer who serves as Moms Demands Action Forever Executive Director since 2023, leading the Everettowns grassroots advocacy effort and overseeing the vision for the next decade of life-saving advocacy. Her early career included community organizing positions at several social justice organizations with a focus on outreach to faith communities, including role as director of the Religious Coalition of Reproductive Choices Spiritual Youth for Reproductive Freedom Project and the National Director of Strategic Partnership for the Planned Parenthood Action Fund. A Washington, D.C.-based mother of 4, she has worked on numerous causes important to her over the past 2 decades, including women's rights, civil rights, LGBTQ+ rights, immigration, reproductive rights, racial justice, and education. Ferrell-Zabala identifies as Christian and LGBT and lives in Washington, D.C. with her wife, Ferrell-Zabala, and their 4 children. Give her a big round of applause. Nielah Tucker, MPH, is the Director of Federal Advocacy at the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers America, Pharma, where she leads the development and execution of strategic federal advocacy initiatives that support the biopharmaceutical industry's mission to deliver innovative, life-saving medicines to patients. With a deep understanding of the legislative and regulatory landscape, Nielah collaborates closely with policymakers, members of companies across functional teams that shape and advance policies that foster medical innovation and expand patient access, particularly through the lens of health equity. Nielah holds a Master's of Public Health from Trinity Washington University and a Bachelor of Science in Health Sciences from Howard University. Is that HU?
You know.
Guided by a strong commitment to equity, she brings a thoughtful coalition-driven approach to advocacy and serves as a trusted advisor across departments. She's also a visible leader with pharma efforts to build bipartisan support for policies that strengthen health and innovation. Give this powerful crowd a big round of applause. Oh, that, I'm gonna tell you, didn't who? Lynae Vanee. Lynae Vanee is a 3-time NAACP Image Award nominee, poet, social media influence, and host of Revolt's The People's Brief, known for the viral Parking Lot Pimpin'. Digital series where she offers compelling, authoritative, and fearless take on race, history, and power dynamics. A graduate of Spelman College and Boston University with a master's degree in African American Studies, Vanee has built a dedicated audience with over 750,000 followers on Instagram through her trademark intro, "I'ma keep it black, but I'ma keep it brief. I'ma keep it black, but I'ma keep it brief." I love it. As a what was that now? As a super talent, as a multi-hyphenate talent from Atlanta, she's a performer, poet, influencer, writer, and actor who also hosts a long-form video series, Let Out, and a podcast called Fem Time, both catering to the voices of our color. Her work continues conversation about culture, mental health, and identity while breaking down top headlines from her distinct perspective and lived experience, providing coverage that blends incisive analysis, satirical commentary, and real-world perspective. I have introduced a lot of panels in my life. I've got to tell you, and this is I'm not joking. This is perhaps one of the most power-packed panels I have ever introduced. Give these beautiful, talented sisters a round of applause. We are so blessed to have you in my hometown in New Orleans. The world is so blessed to have you, your voices, your beauty, your talent, offering and giving us advice, wisdom, counsel, spreading the words through your platforms. God bless you. You guys are in for a treat as we bring together this dynamic panel to begin what will be an outstanding discussion. God bless you. Give them another round of applause.
How's everybody doing? Amazing. Thank you so much to Representative Troy Carter for introducing us. You know, I come from Mississippi, and in my small hometown, you haven't really been welcome until you've been welcome 3 times. So you are welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to be here today moderating this panel. My name is Camille McCallum. I lead the organization Black Women on a Mission and the 92% Club. We started the 92% Club on Inauguration Day as our answering the call to action to do something. So many times we're looking at the news cycle and it feels overwhelming. And we wanted to create a space that was for us, by us, where we could have real conversations, ask hard questions, learn, grow, and organize together. We stand on the shoulders of women like Joteka Edie from Win with Black Women, Glenda Carr from Higher Heights, women who are organizing locally and nationally. Because a lot of our work is digital, we do a lot of national organizing. We do a lot of Zooms, okay? So we started our first call on Zoom on Inauguration Day, and here we are on the 4th of July at Essence Fest. So what a symbolic and beautiful turn of events that is, which just goes to show that no matter the ways in which they try to tear us down, we will find ways to build each other back up. So I'm so grateful and blessed and thankful to be in community with all of these women and to be having this conversation with you today. Our topic and our theme for this discussion is Black Health Under Fire. And if you all know, just yesterday, the Republicans passed a bill putting our health once again on the line. A bill with budget cuts that will strip away Medicaid benefits from 17 million Americans. So as we navigate these challenges, as they try to press us on every side, just know that we are fighting back on every side. And the women that we have on this panel today are fighting back in policy, in community, in culture. And so we are going to work through some of these questions today, and we're going to take some of you guys' questions at the end. So if you have them, hold on to them, and we'll be sure to get there. But I want to kick us off for each of you. Please just ground us in your work and let us know how this administration's approach to healthcare has impacted Black women in families, either in your work or in your personal life. Lynae, we'll start with you.
Hey guys, once again, my name is Lynae Vanee. Thank you so much for having me. Camille, thank you so much to CBC and Rolling Sea Action Fund. Thank you guys for coming. You might know me from my series Parking Lot Pimpin' on social media, but I also recently got a TV show on Revolt called The People's Brief. And you can clap. Thank you. What we do on The People's Brief is we take a mix of different formats you may be used to, like last week tonight with John Oliver, a little bit of SNL, a little bit of Amber Ruffin, The Daily Show, but we're not so necessarily focused on headlines of the week, but things that affect our communities every day, all day, that are evergreen. So anytime you come to The People's Brief, you're going to see a 60-minute sort of approach to one particular topic. And with that said, I think what was done yesterday, it's a big one. I started my sort of ideology about what this administration was doing by saying not much has changed, or rather that this is just chickens that have come home to roost in terms of things that have been affecting our communities throughout time, since emancipation, since we got over here 400 years ago. But things are different. Things are being intensified, and right now we have a government that has the power to do whatever it wants to do with no checks and balances. And what it wants to do is benefit and line the pockets of the rich and leave everybody else open. So these things affecting healthcare are not only affecting Black women, but everybody. And they always say when you solve Black women's problems, you solve everybody's problems. But I think what people are finding out today is that they don't just get to step on people and still get privilege. And I think we're going to get back around to it. But one of the things in particular I think people are finding out is that hate is not going to get them a ticket into the safe space. And it always has before, but now everybody else is realizing that they too are a minority and they too are not being cared for or taken care of. And I think what I see most as far as the Black women's health that is affecting for me, yes, I have family who is on Medicaid. Yes, I have particularly older women in my family who are going to the doctor more and more and more because of not just age, but socioeconomic stressors that make Black women more susceptible to different health issues. So a lot of us are going to be affected, but I see it in my comment section more than not, because I think on this stage, maybe RaeShanda as well, but definitely more culturally centered in terms of the type of engagement that we get. Some people are acutely aware of what's about to happen, and some people feel like it's more of the same, and some people feel like they can just sit back and relax, and Black people are going to be more adversely affected anyway. But it is different now, and we do have to take a different approach.
I'm seeing so many different sides of this, from being a black woman who is a federal employee who is somehow not terminated like many of my other coworkers, and I work specifically in the Department of Health and Human Services, and the cuts are insane. I mean, there's so much in that bill, including the $18 billion in cuts to the National Institutes of Health, the research, the cuts to Medicaid. Of course, we're seeing over $900 billion. There's a pay-go rule, which then triggered $500 billion of cuts to Medicare, which people were not expecting. I was actually at the Capitol reporting in the middle of the night, the first time the House had the bill, and that was when they ran down the stairs and said, we have breaking news that Medicare is going to be cut too because of this pay-go rule. I'm going to tell you the most frustrating thing is the people at the Capitol, having been there enough and looking at a lot of these folks, and especially the folks who just voted to strip us of health care, they don't know what the hell they're doing, and that is the most frustrating part of it. They don't know how any of this stuff works. They have no idea and don't really care, honestly, about the impact. So there's ignorance, and then there's a lack of empathy as well. And so it's going to hit our community the hardest, for sure. We know that roughly 40% of pregnancies in this country are covered by Medicaid. We know that a large percentage of those are black women specifically. We know that they also had defunding when it came to Planned Parenthood and attacks on abortion rights, and may she rest in power, Adriana Smith was just the most recent example of what can happen to black women when we strip away those rights and when we strip away that funding and that support. And so I find myself trying to find ways to help people fight back, because even though this terrible bill has passed, it's just one fight. It's not the entire fight. I was telling people for the last week on social media that regardless of how the bill turned out, pass or fail, that a lot of people are stretching civic engagement muscles that they have never stretched before. And you cannot allow those muscles to atrophy. We have to keep working them and working them, because right around the corner, we have the regular appropriations process. We have all of that happening. We also have a potential, even though I know it seems like such a long shot right now, if we're able to flip the House and the Senate in the midterms, to potentially undo some of the damage. A lot of these cuts don't kick in until 2026 anyway, after midterms, which was very, very intentionally done, because this administration loves to throw rocks and hide its hands, right? And so I'm just trying to help my community become grounded and also understand what a lot of these things mean, what appropriations mean, how this bill came about, what is a pay-go rule, what is going on, because they have gatekept this knowledge from us for so long. And I understand sitting up here that I have the privilege of being one of the black lawyers in this country in which only 4% of all lawyers are even black. And so it's very intentional that they have gatekept this information from us, because they know they can charge $300 an hour while also simultaneously stripping us of our rights if people don't know what's going on. So my big focus definitely has been education, to try to make sure that people just understand what is going on and how it's impacting us.
Well, for my platform, that's awesome, Liz. Let's take a moment and take that in. My friends are super smart, y'all. I'm telling you. So for me, my job has always been is to break everything down for everybody, because it is really very simple. And if you start at breaking stuff down for people that don't normally know, that is the thing. My goal for my platform has always been to be hopeful, to bring joy, and to educate, because everything that has happened at the bottom of it, well, really at the top of it, is they are attacking our hope. So this is how I'm going to break this down. If you've ever been, especially during election season, if you go to one of the many, many neighborhoods, I don't care if it's on the south side of Chicago, I don't care if it's in Mississippi. I grew up in a small, all-black town in Mississippi, right? If you go to certain areas, you want somebody to vote for you, you knock on their door, they open the door. Now, mind you, their grandmama was poor. Their mama is poor. Nothing has changed for them or their circumstances on their block, on their street, on their road in years. And you knock on their door and ask them to vote. you're not going to get their vote. And I'm going to tell you why. I have looked into the eyes of somebody that has lost hope, has hopeless. I'm out here grinding because my family has to eat. Yes, I know it's systemic, but this is the hood that I live in. This is a food desert. There's no jobs. I got to take a bus because I don't have a car. I'm tired. I'm broke. And you want me to vote for you? I have not seen change. I have not seen change, and you are asking me to do something. And it's not going to happen. And you have to get to people before they lose hope. Once you see hope leave their eyes, you are talking to a wall, right? And because of that, they don't vote. And when they don't go out and vote, nothing changes. You see what I'm saying? Nothing changes. But they're voting because nothing has changed. They're not voting because nothing has changed. So it is a cycle that we are stuck in, but also they don't know, right? They don't know that you don't have to call the president for a pothole that's been in your street, because they don't know the structure of how it works and where the funding comes from and how that works. Why? Because first of all, I'm working a minimum wage job. I don't have time to research all of this stuff. But where I can find somebody for a kiki and a laugh is online while I'm scrolling on my phone, trying not to be hopeless. So hopefully I'll come across somebody that can break this down for me so that I can get motivated. So when somebody knocks on my door and asks me to vote, I know that my vote put judges in place that then lead up to the Supreme Court. I know then, if I'm not hopeless, that my vote will put somebody on city council that will get the funding to fix the pothole. They don't know these things. So my platform has always been to make sure that people don't lose hope, because once you lose hope, you can't change anything. You can't, because everybody feels defeated. We have been fighting for so long, and we didn't even know that we would now have to be restarting a fight that my mama, born in 1958, or my grandfather, who was born in 1918, had to fight, or his mama, who was born in 1901. Like, we thought that some of this stuff would be done by now, but we are black people. If we don't know nothing else, we know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. Everybody else do not, so they go into a state of panic when the stock market crash, or they have to cut back on stuff. We've been working on less forever, okay? To the point that they think it's cool. They want to be like us. Yes, they want to steal our culture, right? Because they love our rhythm and not our blues. So my job is to make sure in this is that they don't lose hope. So in all of this, with our health care under attack, with our rights being under attack as women, as black people, as queer people, as trans people, as people that are fat, people that are disabled, all of that has always been under attack for us. This is new to everybody else that's joining this fight, right? Which is why I always say for us, because we know now more black women will die. Oh, we're taking this underground. Everything we're doing, we're taking it offline. Because all they're going to do, as they did in Rosewood, as they did in, in Tulsa, all they do is take the things that they don't want us with them. But when we build something of our own, then they strip that too. So now we just have to do it offline and go back to doing for our community as we should be.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Before I say something, can we just give some claps for they want our rhythm but not our blues? Can somebody get that T-shirt for all of us before we leave? Yes, I'm going to pick up on the hope, and there's so much that all of you have said that I don't have to repeat. I think with the hope piece, it also tells me what I'm hopeful about, and I'm going to get into my specialty, which is the gun violence prevention stuff, is that look around. I want you to just look around. Look to your right, look to your left. Look at the closest black woman to you. We are still here. We are still here. They keep trying, y'all. They keep trying, but somehow we get up and we're still here. And we look damn cute while we're doing it. I'm just going to say. So what I'm sitting with is that we always find a way. We make a way out of no way. And it doesn't mean it's not hard. It doesn't mean it's not ugly. It's intentionally ugly. It's intentionally cruel. They're trying to break us down, but we can't let that happen. We have all the resources that we need right here together, and we're going to continue to do that. Let me talk about, you talk about health care. I'm going to talk about gun violence prevention because it's a public health crisis, y'all, in this country. And before it got national news or attention, before I was leading Moms Demand Action and other folks were talking about it, Black women were at the front lines, saving their communities and families with little to no resources. It's unfortunate that we have to continue to do such a thing. And I think about community violence interruption and intervention groups that are on the ground that do this every single day, literally jumping in front of bullets, stopping the next tragedy from happening. We've been doing this. And so, yeah, we want the resources. Yeah, we want to make sure that we don't have to do it, but we know it's in our DNA how to get up and do this work. This is a public health crisis, y'all. Our children are dying, being shot and killed. We are burying our kids. This is a leading cause of death for kids in this country, but for Black men in particular, and I will tell you the data for Black women and girls sucks. They just don't research us, and I'm gonna be honest. But for Black men and Black boys, it's about 17 times more likely to be shot and killed than their white peers. For women, the homicide rate is about 11 times higher than white women. So this is outrageous. But there's something we can do about it. There's policies, there's laws. We also have to invest in the communities that know what they need and make sure that they have the resources they continue to stop the violence within their communities. But I'm here to make sure that we're doing stuff together, y'all, because this is ugly. This is no reason. You talked about that bill. What you didn't know, they also buried stuff in it that they had no business in our budget bill. Silencers, y'all. Things that we couldn't get access to. They want to make it easier for you to get silencers. Do we need that on our streets? Do we need that on our streets? People can't get a meal, but they want to make sure that you can get silencers. People are losing their jobs, want to make sure you have silencers. So we're doing everything they can. And yes, sometimes we don't like talking about elections. We talk about it, we get frustrated. Like you said, it's absolutely true, everything you said, sis. And yet elections have consequences. So what you said means we got to work hard to make sure that we are meeting people where they are and getting them what they need and holding people accountable once we get them in office. I'm gonna stop talking because we got much more to discuss.
So you guys all have some great and amazing points. From the pharmaceutical perspective, we are very concerned with the cuts when it comes to Medicaid and other federally funded health programs. For Medicaid, we're seeing that the health coverage can be impacted. As well as FDA had some staff reduction cuts, which is very important to our industry because they help regulate and approve the drugs that come to market to ensure safety for these drugs, as well as NIH cuts to other research and science-related programs. And so these are things that we're all concerned about. Back to Medicaid, we're gonna see impact to access and affordability to healthcare services, as well as the medicines that patients need to help maintain their life. And so that's something that we're going to work and continue to fight to protect. But also with Medicaid, it will disproportionately impact us because I think there was a Kaiser Family Foundation study that I read, and it kind of broke down the demographics of Medicaid. And communities of color are the highest percentage that are on Medicaid, and 20% are Black Americans that are on Medicaid. And so, and there's only 13% of us in the population, right? And so we will definitely be disproportionately impacted, and we'll just see probably a continue among the health rates, they will continue to rise among an array of health conditions, which is concerning because we know the prevalence for a lot of the diseases among African Americans we have the highest prevalence rates, whether that is among cancer, whether that is among diabetes, whether that is among hypertension. And so it's unfortunate, but we're gonna do what we can to advocate on everyone's behalf.
Thank you, ladies, for each sharing your experience and perspective. I want to circle back to the gun safety and violence issue because in a lot of ways, right, this is not normally framed as a public health issue in our public discourse, although we know one of the determinants of whether we are healthy is whether we are safe. So how do we work on narrative change, as we have many storytellers on this panel, as well as you, Angela, working in this field day in and day out? How do we work on that narrative change for gun safety to be viewed as more of a public health issue?
Yeah, well, it's already been happening. I think we just have to have more stories. And I'm not talking about stories for the sake of like exploiting people to put their trauma out there, but it's really important to put a face to this, because people, when you just give this percentage or that percentage, they can kind of, but let me tell you something. I don't care your race, your zip code, gun violence can find you in this country. And I have had conversations with people that are like the mental health and this and that. Yes, we need to invest in mental health, but we're the only nation that this is the problem. The only nation where this is the leading cause of death for our children. There is much more that we should be doing. So stories are important because they put a face to it. And I want to just give a shout out to Representative Troy Carter, if he's still here. He does so much work on this issue. So I just want to give him some props in the CBC. But we just need to make sure that we're front and center. We need to also make sure that we are the people that are closest to the pain are part of the solution, not just part of the solution, are leading the solution, and that we make the way and get the resources. And we talk about resources, we're facing lots of cuts now. So we're gonna have to get back to basics. We're gonna have to work together. We're gonna have to say, what do you have, what do I have? How do we put it together to make something? You said $1 out of 15 cents? My mom used to say that all the time. So this is where we are. So I think narrative is really important because it tells a story of what it looks like, not just for individual families and communities, but what the stain on that for small business, for our country, for everything. If we are not taking care of our children, y'all, what the hell are we doing? So I think it's very important that we have these conversations.
So this is a subject that I'm very passionate about, and I thank you so much for your work. And I've had the honor of working with Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund and being one of those storytellers, because my brother would be turning 33 this year if a bullet didn't take his life, almost 8 years ago. And so, you talked about young black men and parents having to bury their children. And I know my father, he's in the room, and he's one of those people who had to bury his son. Just from a stray bullet. He didn't know the people who shot him. He wasn't involved. But 2 other people decided they wanted to shoot at each other, and they got him instead. And sharing that story has been very powerful for people to understand just how easily it can hit you, because there's this idea that you have to be in a gang to be a victim of gun violence. You have to be, there's all this morality applied to it, as if somebody in a gang, as if somebody who isn't maybe doing the right things deserves to lose their life that way, because they still don't. Nobody deserves to be judge, jury, and executioner on anybody's life, regardless of what you think about them and how moral they are. But I share my brother's story so much because he is what they would quote like the perfect victim. But he was still a black man. So he was never really going to be the perfect victim. They still tried. They tried to put narratives on him. The news tried to they dug through all the photos on Facebook to find the one photo of him in a black hoodie at night, when all these beautiful smiley photos and the sunshine were available, like 40 pics before that. And even to the police looking at my father while he's standing there and his son's laying on the ground and telling him we got to check his body for gang tattoos before we move him, when he had not a tattoo on his body. My brother did not like tattoos. He was just one of those young kids who was a videographer and a photographer, and he was at an event doing his job, and he walked to his car and he did not make it home. And so I tell that story because I want people to understand that gun violence can hit you no matter how good you think you are, no matter how right you are being, no matter how much your life is on track, and even if you're not involved in something that we would deem as bad, right? And that's how we make it clear that this is a public health crisis. And I appreciate so much the work that people like you do. And I became a storyteller when previously I was a researcher. My specialty was community violence prevention and adverse childhood experiences. And then my brother was killed, and I could not do that work anymore. It's too much. It's too heavy. And so some years later, I found my footing in moving out of that research path and instead becoming a storyteller, because I knew I could still contribute in some way. Even though the work is too heavy for me to do, I know that I can at least be a storyteller and be someone who can use my platform to get the messaging that your organization puts out there. So I thank you so much. But we definitely need to make sure that people understand it is a public health crisis.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you.
I'm so glad you shared that, Elizabeth, because when we're talking about narrative shift, I think what people don't understand is that storytelling within itself is one of the most powerful acts of resistance. And I feel like I said in my last video that whoever said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me was white and a liar. Because they were able to benefit from whatever words they dressed up to fit whatever narrative, like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie says, the danger of a single story. And my very first video from Parking Lot Pimpin', the cold opener is that black on black crime is white people's fault. And what we have to recognize is that even with something like gun violence, all of these things affecting our communities, whether your brother was in a gang or not, is a product of white supremacy. It's a product of us having to compete with one another for resources and protection. And if it were for none of this, if it weren't for guns being put in our neighborhoods, we wouldn't be having to have these conversations. So I just think it's really important that we prioritize narrative warfare. I think Justin Scott gave me that language most recently when we were talking about the protests that were happening in LA. The things that happen to and within our communities are not our fault. And it's not to say that we shouldn't be accountable for cleaning the things up per se, but we have to also make sure that we're advocating for our right to rewrite our own stories and having an active hand in that. And I say that because there's a lot going on in our communities, and I think this logic applies everywhere, and I'll stop because I know you gotta move on. We spend a lot of time attacking one another. We spend a lot of time defending ourselves to one another when the reasons that we are hurting and the reasons that we are hurting one another are because of white supremacy. And it's not to say that I can't say I'm sorry, but I think that gives a lot of us an opportunity to take some of the weight off of our shoulders, some of the onus off of our shoulders. Like, I can say that I'm sorry that I hurt you because I realize that it's not even my fault. And I have more words for that, and this has been something that's been on my heart for a minute, but we really have to figure out how to talk to one another. We have to figure out how to be in community with one another, because the divisiveness, the ways that we war with one another, and then for something like guns to come in and amplify that sort of chaos, it is all a part of the simulation. And I keep using that word because we are facing a reality that we do not have to accept anymore. It's crumbling in front of our face right now, especially with this bill. It's trying its best to hold on to tyranny and violence to allow itself to continue, but we do not have to adhere to it anymore.
I want to thank you ladies for this perspective. Thank you, Liz, for sharing your story. I think one of the most powerful even narratives that exist right here on this stage, right, is that of all of these women, highly educated, master's degrees, there's 6 of us up here. 1 in 6 has dealt with the direct effect of gun violence. So if you know me, I love an action item. I'm big on an action item. And so I would love to know, what are the ways in which women who may be passionate about this or developing a passion about this can get involved in community-based intervention programs and start doing some of this work?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, support your local community organization. And it doesn't have to just be monetarily. It might be your time. It might be your expertise. If you're a lawyer, maybe you can lend something. So we all have something to give. I think that's a huge deal. I think, like you said, just having conversations with people in ways that they can digest it. Like, we don't have to be all up here in the policy. It's like, what's going on with you? What do you need? What's happening in the community? Those conversations are important. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, if you want to join Moms Demand Action, we have folks all across this country, all 50 states plus DC. Can we be a state soon, people, please? That's our next campaign. Can I be a state? Can I be a state? But you can text READY to 64433, and you'll have someone local from your community give you a call and see like how you want to plug in. But there's lots of things, including just having those conversations and just making people aware of what's at stake, and also not just what's at stake, because we always hear what's wrong with us, what's going down, what's going sideways, but how we actually can move together through this to get to the other side.
Absolutely. Thank you. READY, 64433.
Yes.
Okay. So if you want to get involved with Moms Demand Action, that's one way to do that. I love an action item. So I want to shift gears a little bit. We've talked a lot about this big budget bill that's coming down the pipeline, and we know that there are going to be a lot of cuts. So how do we brace for that impact and support the most vulnerable among us in our communities?
Okay, I'll take that first. What I love about this is because I love community. I love community because I grew up seeing it. My cousin drove down to New Orleans to see me. Hey, April, thank you for being here. So she knows, right? When somebody asks me, like, when did you have your first black teacher? Head Start, right? That's all I know. Black history every day. When did you have your first male teacher? First grade. Like, it has been ingrained in us. We will see our grandfather or our parent when we were little walk into a feed store and get his feed and put it on my bill and I'll pay it later. Because all you had was your word and your money, right? That's community is what I'm saying. When granddaddy walked into the bank and said, I'm finna buy land for my family, right? All he had is word and his work, right? So we have to get back to community. If somebody comes, I have watched my aunt on the west side of Chicago cook food, and then people that are walking on the sidewalk. I got food in here if you need some food. From somebody that is strung out to somebody that pulled up in a Mercedes, it doesn't matter, right? Everybody deserves to be loved, fed, taken care of. So we have to get back to community, to us. We are going to circulate our dollars. We're going to make sure that we are taken care of. Yes, here's another thing. We are always including everybody. We're not excluding anyone, but I am ready for us to be first, right? I'm ready for us to be first. How about I call my sister first to see if she needs something, okay, before I ask my neighbor who is not part of this community first, right? We have to start making sure, and those of us that have made it some kind of way, I need you to send the elevator back down. I need you to send the ladder back down. Just to be honest, as I said before about hope, happy people don't kill people. They just don't. You put me in a situation where I have to fight for my life, if it's you or me, it's going to always be you. Do you understand? And that's because, again, as Lynae said, this is systemic, right? Even being in Louisville, which is one of the most divided cities in the country as far as race, I know that the highway was intentionally put through that neighborhood. I know that all of these things are happening systemically. There's no grocery store with good meat in this. There's no all of that. So in order for us to get back or to go through, we have to get back to community. That is the biggest thing. People say that, but I'm telling you right now, happy people don't kill people. And if you're not checking on your neighbor, then it's not going to work. You have to take care of each other.
I have a very specific one for the people in Louisiana here. Like she was broad, I'm gonna get real specific. I would like you to make sure that you have excellent maternal care if you are having a baby or plan to have a baby. The Louisiana State Legislature in particular is trying to get misoprostol put into the category as a dangerous controlled substance so that it's not as accessible for treatment, because it's the second step in having an abortion. So you have mifepristone and then misoprostol. Misoprostol is also what saves your life if you're having a postpartum hemorrhage. So I really, really, really encourage folks to try to, and I hate saying it like this, if you can have your baby in a blue state, if you can get maternal care from a black midwife, a black care team, black OBGYN, someone who can make sure that they have these specific medications on hand, that is, and that's just me, just mama to other mamas, this is like the number one thing that is on my heart. Again, just especially after what happened to Adriana Smith. So we already know that it's very dangerous for us to give birth in this country. We are 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy and childbirth-related complications. So that would be my like very, very specific ask for y'all.
As we speak on community, we're in community with all of you guys. So we want to make sure we take a few minutes, if you guys have questions, to be able for you to ask those and for us to be able to try and give some insights.
Hi, my name is Shakira. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you to my friend Alicia for bringing me, because I didn't know about this. First, I would like to commend you all, because I thought this was a really great panel, because you have media, advocacy, policy, like everyone in the same space, having this interconnected conversation, which I think we don't have enough. So I'm just curious, either personally or professionally, when you want to talk to people, like you were saying, meet someone where they are, where they may not have the knowledge of policy, they may not have the knowledge of media or like advocacy, they may not have the language. Like, how do you do that? Because I know in my personal life, when I'm trying to talk to people, even if I'm intentionally meeting them where they are, it's like, you're a know-it-all, or you're this, or you're like this special section of Black person who doesn't get my struggle, when that's not the case. So again, I like how this panel was intentionally curated to touch on a lot of different topics. So I'm just curious if you've all experienced that, and if so, like, what are some of the things that you say to people to sort of break down those barriers? Thank you.
So I used to be an educator. And in every single training, every single professional development, I guess they thought we might forget it. They didn't repeat it so much. But they would say, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. And that was a strategy. They had us use, particularly in scenarios with problem students. And I'll even take that for example. As a new teacher at a school, you had those students that wanted to buck the system, wanted to disrespect you in public. Every time something like that happened, I said, hey, meet me outside. And no, I wasn't gonna fight them, but I just said, hey, just step outside for me for a second. We have a conversation like, hey man, why you do me like that? Put the onus back on them for like why you brought this energy to the conversation. And that might not work all the time, particularly online, but you ask questions. That's how you meet people where they are. You get to find out what they need, and then you make an agreement to give them what they need, and as long as you can do that for them, okay, what can you do for me in that sort of situation like that? And I started doing parking lot the way that I did it because I was a social studies buff, like history nerd. I always loved it. But I think it's also systemically on purpose that most kids find social studies boring. Yeah, and so it was a goal for me to make it exciting, to make it inviting, and so I don't just use my academic brain when I create content. I use Lynae and all the fullness that she is, a girl that likes to dance, a girl that's like superhero shit, all the things, like, and put it all into my content in a very familial kind of way. We have to break the walls. And that is the biggest thing where people might think that you have a superiority complex if you're coming specifically from the discipline in which you've learned things. It has to be informed by world experience. It has to be informed by other people's experience as well, because your experience is not the only one. So really humbling yourself and grounding the conversation is how you get the most out of people.
Well, I was just going to say to that, add to Lynae, is to that's it. You just listen, right? What is it that you need? I always, when I'm even talking to people, if people come up to me, I ask them questions. I want to let's talk about you. You excited to see me? I want to know about you. And I don't want to know like, oh, how you doing? I'm okay. We always say I'm okay. No. Pause. Are you okay? Even with my children, my oldest is 30, my youngest is 22. But when they were growing up, which is why they feel the need, they can share everything with me, even overshare. I'd be like, nah, I didn't want to know that now. That's nasty. But the reason why they can is because I listen. Like, I'm the mama to listen. You're not, because I wasn't, right? You say something, you talking back. I said, actually, I was just saying, I was letting that pot soak. Okay, but you didn't want to hear that. But you can't say that. But I decided to pivot with my children. I will listen to you. Because first of all, I'm just a human. I'm your mom, but I'm just a human. I can be wrong, okay? But let me listen. And that's what people want, first of all, right? They just want to be heard, even if it's wrong. You could just sit there and nod. That was so wrong. I don't know where you got that from. But just nod and smile. And then you can have a conversation with them, because people will say you're talking down or you're being condescending. Well, no, so let me just take a different approach. Or it could be just a bad day for you and you take anything I say wrong. But I'm just going to listen.
That's right. And I'm just going to quickly say that because you both said everything I would say. As an organizer, come up through this work through organizing, I would say curiosity is a choice. You can come all closed up like I know everything, or you can come with curiosity, and that's basically what y'all are saying, and that has worked tremendously for me.
I'll just add in, I think it's also important to share resources, information, because again, everybody does not have like the access or the curiosity. So if you do have that, share that to kind of help educate, and I think that'll be very receptive as well.
Thank you, ladies. I believe we have another question from the floor.
Hey y'all, big fan of all of y'all's work and very grateful to share space with you. Thank you so much for your advocacy and your education. It's paramount. I think my question is related to intercommunal versus intra-communal harm. So we talk a lot about intercommunal harm done between communities via things like misogynoir, but I don't think we necessarily talk enough about intra-communal harm, so the harm we produce onto one another by reproducing modalities of hatred like transphobia and homophobia. So my question for y'all is, how do you think we can seriously reckon with and remedy intra-communal harm?
I have a strong opinion about that. I don't go back and forth with black women on the internet, unless it's Candace Owens. But no, I'm very serious. If you pay attention to my content and the videos in which I'm ripping somebody for being ignorant and not knowing something, it's 99.99% time an ignorant white man. And so from the social media spaces, I have a very strong feeling about not dragging other black women for not knowing something. I just feel like that is so important online. Again, Miss Owens is an exception, however. I like to make sure that I can come to someone in their DMs or like try to respond to something or in a nice way or educating before I take something that's like a personal attack. I feel like it's very easy to take stuff online and in media as a personal attack. And while I can be very reactive, if anybody's seen my content, I save that for racist white men.
I do think we're facing a terrible epidemic at the worst possible time of everybody trying to be right. And it's really hard it's hard to combat that experience when black people have had to struggle so much for some sort of autonomy, agency, sense of independence, feeling of correctness and righteousness based on their personal experiences. But to the point that I was saying earlier, we have to find a way to lead with love. And the way, I guess, in maturity, I've always said I don't need to be right, especially if I got something wrong. Like if someone corrects me, I'll pin the comment because the purpose is for everybody to have the best information. Mm-hmm. But not everybody understands that, and not everybody wields influence well or with integrity or with community in mind. And I know it's hard to not have direct answers for you, because right now all I can figure out to do is model it and to be in community with people who are willing to model it with me, to have the conversations that keep these sort of merry-go-round arguments happening, whether or not black men should be dating white women, whether or not there's a gay agenda, whether or not there's a spaceship coming for us, and the man in the purple and gold sweatshirt in the West End can get you to roll down your window so he can sell you his bean pie and then lead you to a better life of blackness. It's hard because these sort of ideologies we cling to are defense mechanisms for us. But it's also all a product of hate. I had a conversation on my show recently. The fact that even black women have to compete with one another for the love of black men, I'm talking about heterosexual relationships, is also a product of white supremacy. Their numbers being low on that end. And I think we have to draw out of these conversations and say that I see you, and I can make space for your human experience, but what I need for you to do is see me as well. And when I'm talking to you about something that you've done to hurt me, I'm not attacking you. I'm telling you that I'm wet, that I've been rained on, and it would make me feel like I'm in community with you if you were to want to dry me off. Because I can draw you off too, and we can go and fight the rain together, but we're not having those conversations. It is always based in whatever point we're arguing on at the time, and we have to make it muscle memory for us to take a step back and say, hey, I'm sorry, even if we're not, even if we feel like we're right, because most of the people in this room probably are, I'm not gonna hold you, but that's due to exposure of all the isms in the world and having like really clear perspective of how oppression works, and the buck can stop for some people who have some measure of privilege. So I don't think I answered your question, but I do think something we have to think about as a community, even when we feel slighted or even when we feel like our point isn't making it. What is the reason the point's not making it across? Let's go there. Yeah.
Well, let me just say this real quick before you take one more question. I just want to say one of the things that can help this is you correct them the first time. You want to talk about how we change stuff in our communities the same way we tell the white women and the white boys when they go home. If you sitting at the table with your family and they say something out of pocket, you can have a conversation with them without getting into an argument. I don't know about these family dinners where they say they argue and they get put out, honey. No, my mama is number 13 of 14 siblings. We got 35 first cousins, 40 second week. Everybody's talking. Nobody's arguing. We just loud and passionate. But your family will change and grow if you say something. In order to change, if you want to change misogyny, when your uncle say something crazy, hey, we don't talk like that to women. But if nobody checks nobody, nothing changes again. But you have to have those real honest conversations about it. I understand that older people or some people might not even understand a trans woman or a trans man or pronouns or whatever. But if you want them to change, if you want to not change, but get a different perspective, you have to say something, right? And that's the thing. If they're not accepting, oh well, but you can at least say, I did say something to my touchy-feely teacher or to, you have to check them the first time or it's just gonna spread.
That's right. Thank you, that was needed, I believe we have time for one more question.
Hi, my name is Fabian. It's just been incredible to hear from all of the panelists here. I'd much rather be spending my 4th of July with y'all and outside. So we talked a lot about the conversation about, gun violence prevention or maternal health. And I'm Mexican American, and in Spanish we say, sin salud no hay nada, which means like without health you have nothing. So I kind of want to talk on the opposite end of this is how do you build trust in medicine? Like when you look at the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw who was most impacted by that. That was black and brown folks dying from COVID, preventable disease. So just want to ask, how can you use your platforms as influencers or as women in science to build trust in science and say like, hey, I'm not a scientist, I don't understand what an mRNA vaccine is, but I know that it's the right thing for me to do. So kind of just want to open up, how do you build trust in medicine?
Thanks for the question. Well, first, again, from the pharmaceutical perspective, vaccines are very important to protecting public health. They play a critical role in ensuring that people are able to live healthy, long lives. And I think when it comes to mistrust and hesitancy, it's understood, especially being a black person, being a black woman, understanding kind of the history there with us. But I think, again, it goes to just educating on the history of vaccinations, right? And so if we even think back to 2020 during COVID-19, there is a lot of conversations around hesitancy with not wanting to take the vaccine. And we saw millions of people lose their lives like before the vaccine was even developed, right? But as soon as that vaccine kind of came to market, we saw that it helped stop the spread of the disease. It helped prevent hospitalizations. And it really just improved and protected our community. And so I think it's also to know, like when it comes to vaccines, that it goes through a really rigorous clinical trial process. And understanding that there are thousands of peer-reviewed, science-based evidence around it, and it's really there to protect you, to protect the community, to protect vulnerable populations. And I think history, time and time again, has proved that it is effective and it is safe. I just think about growing up, I was born in the 90s, I'm a 90s baby, and so chickenpox was going around when I was growing up, right? My sisters got it, I got it, everybody I knew got it. But around that same time was when the chickenpox vaccination came out. And so now today, I can have conversations with my nieces and my nephew, they don't know what the chickenpox is. And that is because of the vaccine, it's because of the pharmaceutical company doing that research and development, ensuring that we have vaccines that come to market that are safe, that are effective, and that will continue to prevent diseases. And so I think it's really just about educating, meeting the community where they are, having real conversations with them, answering the questions that they have around it.
I just want to give somebody an opportunity right here to speak on mis and disinformation campaigns that are running rampant. I'm still in the small town Facebook community where I see a lot of health theories that are very prominent among, people in the rural South that I'm like, well, research will tell you that ain't right. And you do need to stop giving your baby raw milk and go take them up there to the doctor and get the shots now. So I think we've got to combat this disinformation on all sides, but I know a lot of these women are working on campaigns around that, so I just want to give you an opportunity to speak on that.
Yeah, just when it comes to health specifically, thank you for all you do, because it's such a struggle. Combating disinformation is definitely reframing things in a way people understand. So with the COVID-19 vaccine, the common thing I got from the Black community was the syphilis trials at Tuskegee. And I had to make sure to give people the correct information. And I was like, they did not give them the vaccine. And they were like, what? I said, they didn't give them the shot that they needed. It's not that they gave them or injected them with something. They let these people get sick, and then they didn't give them the vaccine. And now you see all these white people lining up to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And I want to ask you what you think is going on and what got put out there in the universe to tell you not to get it. And like reframing that just switched people's perspective so much, because a lot of people misunderstood and thought that whole thing was because they injected people with syphilis, not that the people already had syphilis and then they thought they were getting something to cure them, but instead they withheld it. And so that's two very different things and two very different narratives. So just like trying to make sure to just in simple terms break stuff like that down and like fight against that disinformation.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because what I was going to say is we have to, and we do work together, like people who are skilled in doing the work of finding information and influencers who are skilled in translating it and transferring it to community. But we also are up against a community that has a history of crazy, wild, and outlandish shit happening to them for them to be skeptical of government, of healthcare, whether they misunderstand the details or not. So what we have to do is promote more positive and healthier groupthink, because anything that we're talking about affecting Black American communities is an interdisciplinary topic. And for folks who are skilled or understand that, we have to know what questions to ask ourselves in order to tell better and more full and complete stories in order to promote trust in the things that we should be trusting. But we also need people like you in those spaces, because I trust you more than I trust somebody else, you know?
That's exactly right. So I was going to say to that, listen, I had to tell my children, you're not going to turn into a zombie. Okay, get out of my face and go get this vaccine, because they're just coming up with anything. Do you want to be sick? First of all, do you want to travel with me because you had to be vaccinated to go? Do you want to go on this trip or not? Get the doggone vaccine and let's go. And for me personally, I want to share this story, y'all. I almost left here. So I made it to the end of 2020, and on Christmas, at the time, I went to my mother-in-law's house. I don't know if I don't think she knew she had it, but she had COVID. I got COVID, and I fought for my life for 3 months. Like, they had to, my doctor was like, I'm not gonna send you to a Black woman, she said, I'm not gonna send you to the hospital, because if you go to the hospital, RaeShanda, they're gonna put you on a ventilator, you're not coming out. Right? I had COVID pneumonia. You could see the fluid in my lungs, right? So I am fighting, and they're telling me to call my family in. I've lost weight. I can't move. But to then have the vaccine and to know that even after that, it was minimal, because I got it again. And I was terrified, because I was like, I really fought for my life. And for people, like you said, have a history of not, my mama said no. Every time I go to the doctor, they're gonna tell me something wrong with me, ain't nothing wrong with me, and then something end up being wrong with me. Like, they don't trust medical field at all when you're dealing with those. So you have to meet them where they are, which is why I always break down my stuff to everybody. I really do break it down. Like, do you want to be sick or not? I know that it is hard to trust this system, but some things to save your life, whether you have diabetes, hypertension. First of all, our bodies are not built to be stressed as we are. I think about my grandfather and my uncles and everybody. Like, back then, just going to the grocery store, you probably won't make it back home. It's wild. Like, for my grandfather to say they couldn't even eat vanilla ice cream in public, you gotta be conscious of everything being Black, and it will wear on your body and make you sick. And then when you are sick and you're not trusting the system, then you end up dying.
And you brought up a personal story, and that made me think I very much make sure to tell people that I'm a black mama of an autistic son, because that's a big thing around the anti-vax movement. And I always let people know, one, no, vaccines do not cause autism, and two, I would much rather have my beautiful, amazing, talented, smart, cuddly boy be alive and autistic than dead from a preventable illness. And so that's part of the storytelling too.
And very last thing, something that just hit me when we were talking, and I think something else we have to do in our community to promote trust in the medical system is to invest in black boys and men and their education and them telling these stories, because everybody up here is a woman. And even if we're getting information from our own networks, a lot of people are distrusting of us because they don't think that we should have these platforms or should have the authority to speak on these things. And so they don't trust us basically because they want to be in this position. Well, so we have to be in community with the men in our communities and unfortunately the straight ones. What's up, George?
Come on. We love you.
Yeah, like we're fighting, it's a lot, and a lot of the distrust is also just wrapped in misogyny and misogyny war because they don't want black women to be able to tell these stories. And we're the most educated group.
I'm not that. As a queer woman, I don't coddle. I don't
No,
give a
I'm not
damn
saying
about
we should
that.
coddle.
I don't care how they feel.
I'm not saying we should
care
coddle.
how they feel.
No.
If they're not gonna put themselves in a position to do it, I'm not gonna step aside so they can do. You want me to say it? George, you got something you want me to say while I'm up here? Oh, okay. All right. You see?
Poor
See what
George.
I'm talking about?
Somebody give him a hug.
We love you. We love you.
And on that,
Ladies, snatch the mic.
One thing I love to say is that we can't have community without unity, okay? So thank you. What we have is in this room is so many powerful people who can build coalition together. So please give it up for yourselves, give it up for this panel, and thank you so much for being in community with us today. All right, I believe we do have a little special segment coming. So some of us are gonna exit stage left. Oh, okay, before we go.
Hello, thank you everyone for sitting with us for our panel. Immediately after this panel, we are recording a live no distractions, and we are gonna call one of our Congress members right back up to stage. If you wanna sit, if you wanna grab a drink, you can. And we're going right into a happy hour. But I wanna thank everyone on stage. This was wonderful. Could we give them another round of applause?